Good afternoon, and welcome to the November 26th meeting of the Transient Guest Tax Meeting. My name is Tony Emerson. I chair this committee, and I represent District 4. If my other colleagues would introduce themselves, please.
Mike Lesser, Councilman, District 9.
Aaron Mays, District 7.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we have our Assistant City Attorney, Mary Feeney, helping us, as well as Nick Hawkins, the Interim Finance Director. So thank you. And Liz Toyne, as always. Okay, the first item of business is to approve the minutes of the October 4th, 2018 meeting. I believe we all got this.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. The minutes are approved unanimously. Now, of course, we come to the reason for this meeting, the discussion of the Sunflower Soccer TGT Fund Resolution. I believe, I don't know if, Mr. Fletcher, do you want to speak on this, or? Okay. At this time, gentlemen, I'd ask for Mr. Fletcher to come up and talk about this. And if you could introduce yourself, please, for anybody watching at home.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Fletcher. I'm the Executive Director at Sunflower Soccer Association. Thank you for letting me speak. I don't have a presentation. I'd just like to talk a little bit about some of the questions that you all had from the previous meeting. The biggest question was one of sustainability and our business plan. I would like to say that, in my opinion, sustainability has been achieved. Based on the numbers that you saw last time, we turned a net income about $23,000, $24,000 last year after 3 or 4 years of losses. The goal this year is net income of approximately $30,000. 2 major programs have been implemented. So when the questions were asked last time about our business plan, and I did a poor job last time of explaining this, so I apologize for that. The business plan, even though it wasn't put down on paper, had already been implemented. 2 major parts to our business plan was our mini kicker program, which is a program for our 3 and 4-year-olds. So that is a long-term program. Obviously, the goal would be those 3-year-olds continue to play at the complex through the age of 16, 17, and 18. Last year, we had 600 3 and 4-year-olds. So they were new players out at the complex. And then the second change to our business plan, or this is our new business plan, was Topeka Soccer Club, in that we merged most of the competitive programs in Topeka, so now they are administrated through Sunflower Soccer. Revenue increase was approximately $100,000. So after I went home after the last meeting, I was like, man, I should have said that, and I should have said that, and I should have said that. So that, to me, as executive director, the business plan is already there. Now, I understand and I apologize that it wasn't on paper. So after the last meeting, I went to Washburn Business School. And so we have started the process of a business plan that you guys can actually see. What I've given you today was just my putting one together. I'm an educator by trade, not a businessman. So I'm getting help through Washburn Business School to put it together. What I'm not going to do is go out and hire a company to do it for us. We just don't have the money, and if we did, I'd rather put that money somewhere else.
Sure.
My opinion, with the new programs, 3 and 4-year-olds, and the expansion of Topeka Soccer Club, as we continue to work with those who are not yet under the Sunflower umbrella, there will be continued growth in numbers of kids at the complex, which will then lead to increase in revenue, which will then lead to better sustainability. What I can't guarantee you, and I'm not going to, is due to changes in the soccer landscape, for those of you who are familiar with it, new complexes in Olathe, Kansas City, Wichita, tournament revenue has declined over the past 5 to 10 years. We used to have 350 teams in our Governor's Cup tournament. We now have 140. What I can tell you is revenue was up from our tournament in the fall for the Harvest Cup. Not by much, but it was up. So we are the only small association that runs tournaments where tournament numbers are actually increasing. However, I am not going to be able to stand in front of you and say tournament revenue will be like it was 5 or 10 years ago. And as a result, will hotel rooms increase that much? No. Our business plan will be concentrating on kids in Topeka, improving our soccer complex, and hopefully that way numbers will go up with our tournament. So as an educator, not a businessman, all I'm going to ask is we are sustainable. We can pay our bills. What we don't have is the money for the large improvements that our complex needs because we are now using it 7 days a week. That is where we need some help. So I'm like the young family with 2 kids who can pay their bills, but their roof gets a leak and they have to struggle to fix the roof because it's so expensive. Is it a change from let's get tournament numbers? Absolutely. But I implore you, come out to the complex on a daily basis and you will see hundreds of kids out there enjoying it. I've been out to every single complex in Kansas City. I see and I look at it and go, I wish I could have this and I wish I could have that. So that is where I am at. We will have a business plan for you. It is being put together, like I said, with the help from Washburn Business School. They're going to do all the financial things for us. But at this time, we are asking for the help with the large improvements to our complex because the numbers are growing and the complex is being used all the time. There are cities out there. Wichita just invested $22 million in a brand new soccer complex. We're not asking for $22 million. I could do a lot with $22 million.
You'd take it if given.
Yes,
Okay.
I could. But I'll give you just the last example, then I'll answer any questions you might have. If we could make 2 of our fields championship field quality, we could have high school tournaments. Like I said last time, we turned high school teams away because we don't have the complex up to par. So that is where I'm at. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
If I could start, please, Mr. Fletcher. First of all, thank you for being here and for your testimony and for this information you've given to us. I understand, so this is not right now your business plan, is that correct?
This is what I put together, and this is what when I met with Washburn Business School, this is what I took. And then we're going to take this, they're going to do some of the financials for me, and we will have I don't know what you want to call it, a proper one, a much better looking one. The holidays obviously interrupted that process.
Sure.
But a lot of the terminology will stay the same.
Okay. One thing I guess I would ask you to put in there, you mentioned that you're sustainable and you'll be profitable on an operating basis. However, of course, a huge cost in a facility such as yours is the maintenance. And I guess I'd ask that you'll, at some point, I mean, if this committee sees fit to give you funding to, do some of those capital improvements right now, over time, we'd expect you guys to, take care of that. So I guess I would ask to have that in your business plan, please. It would be my preference.
Long-term sustainability?
Yes. Yeah.
He's putting that together.
Yeah, with doing the maintenance. I mean, one of the things, and this will lead into my next question, but one of the things you had on your kind of list of highest priority was to crown, must be 10 fields. Mm-hmm. And you said on there to do that two per year. Is that because when you crown them, then you can't use them for a while? Is that?
Well, there's 2 reasons. Number 1 is the financial cost.
Okay.
And yes, number 2 is We shut down 2 fields per year. So we have 13 full-size fields. We can make do with 11.
Okay, but no more than that. So you can only do 2 a year, even if we gave you the money to do all of them at one time.
I can do all of them at one time because then we'd have to shut down for a year.
Right, okay.
I could do 4 at a
Okay.
time.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, you mentioned if you had 2 fields that were championship caliber, what does that mean? What does that entail?
Championship caliber would be fields that we would use just for games. So right now we use our fields for both games and practices. So we have a relationship with not the public high schools, but the smaller private Christian high schools, Cornerstone, Keb, Hervel. St. Mary's approached me this year. We had to turn them away because we don't have room. So they play about 20 games at our complex. I'd love to have fields just for those games. So game fields only, bleachers, keep the grass nicer than no practice is allowed on there. Even lights, if you're thinking, really, really do it properly.
So is that, on the list you gave us last time, you had as number 9, turf fields 2, 1.6 million.
No, they don't have to be turf fields. It would be nice if they are, but they don't have to be.
And when you say turf, you mean artificial turf?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have an estimate on what the cost would be to create 2 fields like that you were talking about?
For turf fields or just
No, the
championship?
championship.
Approximately $25,000 each. Because we would just regrade fields we already have.
So, and I'm sorry, I might be missing something here, but so it costs $23,000 just to recrown the grass fields, but
Correct.
for $2 more you could make them much better fields?
Oh, I'm sorry, I said approximately 25. Is it 23? No, it's $23,000, and that includes the maintenance and such like. So they would regrade, put down the grass seed, help us with the irrigation.
Right, and I'm sorry, I probably didn't ask it very clear. What do you think the cost for building one of the championship caliber fields?
I'm
Is it
sorry,
just-
we wouldn't have to build one. We would just take a field we have right now. So let's say you said, hey, you have financing or money to recrown 2 of these fields. I could then make those fields, whichever ones we chose, championship fields. So that the $23,000 is the same thing.
There's no difference in the field, it's simply you don't use them for practice?
Correct.
Okay, got it, okay.
What about?
Mr. Lesser?
To make it a championship field like that, wouldn't we need bleachers though as well? Those. So what would that?
I haven't looked at the cost of all that yet. Maybe championship field was poor wording on my part, so I apologize for that. Nice game fields would be a better way of putting it.
Okay. Gentlemen? No.
I'll just ask that.
And I don't know, Liz, do you happen to have a copy of the list from last time? It was kind of the improvements that they were, I just brought my one from last time, but,
It's all right. I'll look up this.
okay.
Anything else?
The lighting improvements that you mentioned, those were not on this list that I saw. Have you gotten any kind of estimates on that if we did just 1 or maybe even 2 fields?
To put lights on the fields or
Yeah.
lights in the parking lot?
On the fields?
No, sir, we have not.
Okay.
One more question, I'm sorry.
Sure.
In the process of the business plan that Washburn is helping you with, are you also addressing where we had talked at and mentioned the foundation? Is that also going to be included in that? Okay, thank you.
I think that's all right for right now, Mr.
Okay.
Fletcher.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd at this point like to make a motion to postpone any more discussion on this item until presented with, and then presented with the formal business plan from the association, and time to review that prior to meeting.
And second on that?
I'll second it further.
Okay, just for the purposes of discussion, we have some gentlemen here that may want to speak on it, but knowing that we're not going to make a decision now today, I mean, probably not, it sounds like. I guess let me put that out there. This was probably what's going to happen. Does anyone else want to speak at this time, or?
Doesn't appear so.
Okay. Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor of postponing any further discussion until we have the business plan, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We will therefore, Mr. Fletcher, do you know when you may have that? Okay. 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 So we're realistically looking, and the only reason I'm asking, the only reason it gets a little bit important is it's possible the membership of this committee may change for next year. And I think we serve through January, I believe. Yes. Okay. Okay. So that'll be pending getting that from you. I do have a question for Ms. Feeney. A question came up. In order to allow them to spend any money, we have to change that resolution. Is that correct? There's no other way to?
Well, we don't have to change the resolution that exists now. You would have to have a new resolution allocating the money for these particular projects or allocating this excess to other entities.
Okay.
So you don't need to change the resolution, but you'll need a new one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So theoretically, let's just say theoretically, all we wanted to do was, let's just say, recrown the field. We could theoretically use the same, write a new one that basically said the same thing. The only difference would be that we added that it gave us the ability to fund Crown Field.
Yes, up to a certain amount, or you could even put in a
We could
limit.
still keep it that narrow.
Sure.
As far as that.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments from staff?
The only other thing I would
absolutely.
add, Mr. Fletcher's, I think this is a good start in Washburn. I've seen them help lots of different people. The only other thing that I would say is, why I appreciate that you'd rather have the money to spend in another way than hiring a firm or someone to help you with your business plan. Sometimes some of the best money spent that I've done with my company is bringing in an outside people to help me with certain things like that, because I'm good at managing people. I'm good at selling things. I'm not the best at the numbers and all those type of things and the algorithms. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
Algorithm.
sure.
My point being is, the future of your organization depends partially on this funding and those type of things. And it maybe would be money well spent for you to hire somebody to let you communicate what your vision and how things are going to do it, and then to put it on paper and show you the ways to do it. Sometimes it's not such a bad idea. So that's all.
Mr. Young?
If I may, and I know I said I wasn't going to say anything. Kurt Young, Topeka Lodging Association Executive Director. I would say with respect to what the councilman just said, since that business plan is really, at this point, kind of a work in process, and that's why I opted not to speak on anything today, because what can we say about what we haven't seen?
Sure.
But if there's going to be an effort to build a really good, decent business plan, is there any consideration in that effort to see what can be done to increase the possibility of heads on the beds as a result of this expenditure? I kind of get the feeling in all of the discussions we've had about this effort to this point that we've kind of closed the door and washed our hands on any continued effort to increase heads on the beds at the soccer complex. So since we've kind of tabled the matter to look at the business plan, that might be an effort to focus on.
Okay. Hope Mr. Fletcher, I'm sure, heard that. And all right, well, are there any other items anyone wants to bring up? Well, seeing no other business before us, I hereby call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And thank you, Mays boys back there.